learn spec points at one at a time and make sure you fully understand every single spec point. Because they don't really ask a lot of trick questions. It's just understanding and applying everything from the spec. Cool. Let's move on to costs. Someone just shouted out, how would I calculate total cost? It was very similar to total revenue. Actually, no, it wasn't the same way we calculate it, but what adds up to make total cost?
Isn't it variable cost plus fixed cost?
Yeah, total cost equals total fixed cost plus total variable cost. It's worth recapping short run and long run before we do that. Actually, we'll come back to that last. Let's carry on with this. So let's just define what total fixed costs are and what total variable costs are. Okay, so the first one's straightforward. It's just saying that total costs are made up of total fixed costs, which are one type of cost, which we're about to go over, and total variable cost, which is another type of cost, which we're about to go over. Do you guys know the difference between fixed and variable costs?
Fixed costs are things like rent, right?
Yeah,
And they don't really change, but variable are things that are subject to change.
perfect. I don't know what were you going to say?
Isn't it like fixed costs don't depend on output?
That's exactly correct. So both of you said that. So rent, stuff like rent, and they don't change with output. So fixed costs do not vary, do not change as output increases. Or I'll just emphasize that, so even if output increases. And then variable costs do increase if output increases. And they'll decrease if output decreases. A good example would be, say, if you've got a farm. If I've now set this farmer, I've bought the land for the farm, or I pay the rent for the farm, whatever it is. That's irrelevant of whether I produce 10 carrots or 100 carrots. However, if I want to produce like some carrots and some eggs and like all these different things, the more I produce, what am I going to need more of?
The price.
Sorry?
Resources.
Resources and farmers and stuff like that, right? Cool. So therefore, a good example of a fixed cost, like you said, is rent or anything to do with like land or office space or factory space. And variable cost has anything to do with stuff like wages of farmers or raw materials.
Is utilities, do they also depend on output?
What do you mean by utilities? Like energy bills and stuff or something else? Yeah.
Like energy bills.
Yeah, exactly. So if you have a factory, well, I mean, yeah. So for example, if you have an office and you have one person working, they're going to use the computer and the Wi-Fi. If you have 10 staff, then you have 10 different computers being logged on, so energy bills will be higher. But then other stuff like heating or the light will always be on anyway. So I'd rather just avoid that one to not make things confusing.
Okay.
But as long as you explain it, it's fine. Keep the example of the farm in mind because we're going to keep coming back to that because it will help with certain things. Let's get these ones done then. So you've got average cost, you've got average fixed cost, average variable cost. So Adam, what did we say that anytime average comes up in economics, what do we normally do?
Is it all added up together, then divided by the amount there is?
Good. And in economics, when we say amount, what do we normally talk about?
Quantity, output.
Yeah, both of those words are fine. If it's something that's being sold or bought, we can talk about quantity. If it's in this case, we're talking about what a firm is making, we can say output. it doesn't matter if you mix the two words up, but I'll just say output for this case.
Okay.
The average cost is total cost divided by output. Average fixed cost is total fixed cost divided by output. And then you've got average variable cost as total variable cost divided by output. So we know, what did we say for marginal? So if we said marginal revenue is how much revenue an extra unit adds, what is marginal cost?
How much cost an extra output make? I don't really know.
Yeah, you're on the right lines, but think about so yeah, you're right. Try and actually understand it rather than just memorize it. So if you got a farm and let's say you got a shop and you produce 100 chairs,
Mhm.
the marginal revenue is the extra revenue gained from selling one extra chair. If you got the same shop, you got 100 chairs, what would the marginal cost be? The extra
Cost
of making
the extra share.
one extra chair. So it's the extra cost from producing one extra unit. So they are the same definition, just changing up revenue to cost. Cool. So we've done the formula. We just want to do the relationship. That basically just means the curves. And that's what this one said as well. Derivation of the short run cost. So what we'll do is, are all of these definitions fine so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what we'll do is I'll just show you the curves that you need to memorize, and then we'll understand what this point is talking about, because it's asking you to understand why they look like that, not just to memorize it. Whereas for marginal revenue and average revenue, you can just memorize it. Let's do this one. Okay. I'll take this one. So all it's saying is that average cost by the way, these are short run curves. You won't have to specify that. In economics, if we don't specify, we're always talking about the short run. If we're talking about the long run, we would probably specify, if that makes sense.
Okay.
The short run curves, we have the average cost curve. It is U-shaped. And then we have the marginal cost curve. It is tick-shaped. And it's upward sloping most of the time. And it passes through the bottom, the lowest point of the average cost curve. So I'll just draw that once myself. If I ever wanted to draw average cost, I just draw a U-shaped curve like that. I find the lowest point and I go through it, and that's my marginal cost. Okay. Adin, I know you're fine with that because you did it before. Serena, is that all right?
Yeah.
This bit's weird because they really want you to understand why it's shaped like that. So I'm going to explain briefly using an example and then tell you what you can just memorize if it asks you to explain it. So if we go back to another example from the econ style video, here's a random table of like businessy stuff, which we don't need to know, but we need to kind of have a rough understanding of. The first column is showing how many, let's say, farmers there are, or how many workers there are in the chair factory. The second column is showing total product. It's just showing how many chairs or how many eggs or whatever it is that each worker is making. Let's just say chairs. So 0 workers, you get 0 chairs. 1 worker, you get 4 chairs. 2 workers, you get 9 chairs. 3 workers, 15 chairs. 4 workers, 17 chairs. All pretty sensible stuff. I don't know what's happening in the marginal product column.
The numbers being
So start off with how do you calculate it? So how did they get the 0 here? Okay, ignore the 0 because 0 workers, they're just going to make 0 chairs. How did they get the 4 here?
is it because of times? Oh no, they've just divided
No,
four.
not even. They've, no. How do you get them? What does marginal mean? What's marginal product?
It's when it's the cost of an extra
Yeah, of making one extra. Yeah,
one extra unit of production.
cool. So in this case, we're just talking about product, which is how many chairs they're making. So the marginal product is just saying how many extra chairs can one extra worker make? Okay.
Okay.
So one extra worker makes 4 chairs.
Okay.
If you add another extra worker, how many extra chairs do you get?
4.
From 4 to
We've
9?
got 4, 9.
Yep. And then if you add another extra worker, how many extra chairs do you get?
15.
From 9 to 15. So how many extra do you get?
So, 6.
Yeah, 6. And then another extra worker, how many extra chairs do you get?
2. I see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're never going to look at marginal product and all this stuff, but that's where marginal cost comes from. It's based on someone's gone and understood how many extra chairs this many workers make, and that's how we get our cost curves. Serena, with the average product, how do they calculate the 4, the 4.5, the 5, and all that stuff?
With
How do you calculate average?
the average is total cost divided by output.
Um, yeah, total product divided by output. So how do they
Total
get the
product.
5 here? Sorry, not that one, this 4 here. They do 4 divided by 1 worker. Yeah.
So the total
And then they
total
do,
products divided by.
yeah, like number of workers in this case. Yeah, so here it's going to be 9 divided by 2, which gets 4.5, 15 divided by 3, which gets 5. Okay. Basically, that might have been confusing, but overall, the idea is this is the only bit you need to understand, okay? 0 workers make 0 chairs. The more you add workers, they're going to make more chairs, obviously, right? And then later, when you add loads and loads and loads of workers, what happens? What's the difference towards the end?
Becomes inefficient.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit?
Because I guess this, so say if there's a factory and you're overpopulating the factory, then it's gonna restrict the you've reached the peak capacity that you could have, the like peak productiveness, and now you just, I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll obviously help you to write that in a nicer way, but what you said is correct. If you have a factory which has enough space for 4 people, if you add 1 worker, 2 workers, 3 workers, they're obviously going to make so many more chairs. But if you add 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 workers to a tiny factory, they're going to bump into each other and they're not going to work as quickly as they could have. So based on this, we derive these curves. Okay. So all you need to do is you need to be able to explain why is marginal cost upward sloping for the most part. Okay. So the marginal cost curve is tick-shaped. As quantity increases, marginal cost increases due to diminishing marginal productivity. Okay. So marginal cost mostly increases as quantity increases due to the law of diminishing marginal productivity. Okay, that sounds fancy, but it's not. Break it down one word at a time. Productivity, how many chairs they're making per hour. Okay, productivity is output per hour. Per hour. Diminishing just means goes down and down and down. And then marginal just means each extra worker. So each extra worker is able to produce add less to a firm's total output because they basically find it difficult to work with so many other people. Because there's not enough space for them to be as productive. If you think of a farm, I own this farm. If I hire one farmer, he's going to be able to do so much, like look after this area all by himself. If I ask him to cover the whole thing, he's going to struggle, he's going to get tired. So I might hire another farmer, another farmer, another farmer. Even if I wanted to add like one more farmer for this area, cool. But now if I add more and more farmers, it's not going to add anything to my output. They're just going to get in each other's ways. So now if I have 2 farmers here, they're just going to argue, or they're just going to share the same work which they could have done by themselves.
Does this have to do with like allocative efficiency?
Not allocative efficiency. Maybe we can link it to productive efficiency later, which is like minimizing costs, but I would say don't overcomplicate and link it right now.
Mm.
All it's doing is it's just explaining why marginal cost slopes upwards. That's all it's saying. Okay. This is an example from a mark scheme from Edexcel. So it just says, in order to explain it, just say that this happens because, so what we said, marginal cost rises because, or whenever we add too many variable factors of production to the same fixed factor of production. For example, adding too many farmers to a small farm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. This is a good point here. Whenever we finish topics, so for example, if we finished this topic, please do consistently practice. Just go to expert tuition and then just type theme 3 or whatever theme you're doing. Serena, have you used this website before?
No.
Okay. So just type expert tuition and whatever theme number, and then this page comes up with questions by topic. Like if you change it to 4, it will come up with that. So we're on 3. It's just the guy's gone and collated all the parts of the question, even from old spec and new spec from topic by topic. So if we're doing 3.3, then you would just go here, open the marks scheme and the paper and just do a few questions. There's way too many questions on the 147 pages. You don't need to do all of them, obviously. Do a few from section A and then move to section B and do a few from there, and then you're good.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's really important that you do that every time you finish a topic.
Okay.
Perfect. We've covered, wait, short run and long run average cost curves. So I would say, okay, let's just say what short run and long run is then. Does anyone know the difference between the short run and the long run in economics?
Is it in the short run you're not allowed one of the factors of production fixed, but then long run everything is variable?
Good. So in the short run, at least one factor of production is fixed. So that you understand that a bit better, it's just if I'm talking about, so imagine if I've got if I own a farm or a chair shop, it's relatively easy for me to buy more seeds. It's relatively easy for me to hire more farmers. If I want to hire an extra farmer, that's not that. We're basically just saying that the short run in economics, if we're thinking about that in real life, so in the short run, I can hire workers, I can buy more seeds, I can get more raw materials, but the one thing I can't do is get a new farm, a bigger farm, or increase the size of my farm. So at least something, there's one thing I can't change.
Okay.
And in the long run, I can do everything. I can get a new farm, I can increase the size of my farm, all of that stuff. Okay. Um, so I'm actually just going to Google this quickly, but I think that's just saying short run costs fall within your long run cost curve. I'll show you what I mean in a second.